We'll call the select board meeting of October 30th to order. Tom and Dina, can you guys hear us?
I met her at the butterfly.
You can hear me?
Yep. Dina? Okay, thanks. We have one addition, which is capital fund number 2 for the warrants. We'll add when we get to the warrants. I think that's the only change. You all can bring more chairs if you want. You don't have to stand. Can you get a comfy chair?
Hey, good. How are you? Oh, sure.
Could never make up my mind.
Do you have a...
I was gonna ask you.
Oh, I'm Julie Johnson. Yeah, from the Warrants. That's right. Yes, we have.
All right, so our first thing we're going to do is review and approve the minutes of the previous meetings. We have the October 16th select board meeting, as well as the October 23rd budget and work session. That's right, because everybody's here. So let's do the October 16th select board meeting first.
I make a motion that we accept the minutes of October 16th select board meeting.
I'll second it.
All right, any discussion on those minutes? All right, all those in favor say aye.
All right,
Aye. For the-
Aye.
abstaining.
And then the October 23rd budget work session meeting minutes.
I move that we approve the meeting minutes from October 23rd.
I'll second it.
All right, any discussion on that? All right, all those in favor of approving the budget work session minutes from October 23rd, say aye.
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 That's everybody. We have 4 warrants. Since we have 4 of them, let's just kind of do them in pairs. So we have warrant 9, which is the general spending warrant, and 9P, which is the payroll warrant.
Make a motion that we accept warrants 9 and 9P.
Todd,
I'll second
can I have a question on, I don't know if this item's on the warrant or not, I'm just curious. I've noticed the town, I'm assuming the town rented a tractor to do some brush clearing along the sides of the roads. Did it rent a driver also?
I don't know.
it. I think it is in there.
So we'll get to it. So let's continue with because there'll be a discussion.
Okay,
So we had a motion to approve. Did you second it? Just Paul made the motion to approve them.
I think Laurie has
I
seconded.
second
Oh,
it.
you seconded. Okay, so now discussion on 9 and 9P.
I had a question about there was one large one in there, I think it was 80-something thousand. I didn't see the specific details of what that was.
That was $88K to Belco, and that was the last ARPA funds for the bridge on Park Alton Road.
Okay, all right, sorry. I didn't know what that was. Thank you.
Great, you gonna make me read it?
Sure.
So yeah, $3,450.
Is that the one you were referring to?
I don't know, it was a big tractor, it was
Yeah.
looked like a
A
Kubota.
Kubota,
With-
a model M6 111.
I don't know,
if
I
you
didn't
don't
see
know.
that, but it had a big arm on it,
Yeah, a boom mower.
yeah.
It was rented.
And,
Did it take something out on your place?
well, I'm concerned about the town doing that kind of mowing. Frankly, I brought it up at town meeting when discussion occurred. We're getting a new mower and a new tractor with a new mower because the other mower wasn't big enough.
Right.
And it seems, Dummerston's got some very attractive roads. And we go around slashing along the sides of the roads, slashing up into the trees, and it leaves it a mess. And so I'm concerned about that. I'm concerned about It's already happened on Middle Road and I believe parts of East-West Road, I don't know where else, but I happened to notice it. There was also some handwork done, which was fine, and the handwork looked great. But when you start slashing trees, branches halfway up, and it leaves a mess, I'm concerned about it, and I would hate to see it done on other roads in town. One spot I noticed even it seemed to extend, didn't measure it, but it seemed to extend beyond the roads right away. And it just really went way back. It's on Middle Road up on top of the hill from Dutton Farm Road. And, just want to express my concern about doing this kind of work.
So, it's the type of work.
That type of
The
work.
type of work, okay.
Right, yeah.
I will contact, yep,
You also
Yeah.
asked who was the driver.
I don't care who the driver
They
is.
had to hire one.
I will contact Lee Chamberlain
Mhm.
and find out what the general plan is for mowing the sides of the,
Was it Lee on just now?
no, Lee's not here.
Oh, well, I thought he was on, I thought I heard him. Oh, no, it's,
That's just
Nope,
the fifth member.
that's Tom Nolan,
oh.
and Dina's on also. So I'll contact Lee and find out what the plans are and how they do it and how far they go.
They did take out a mailbox on Leonard Road.
Your mailbox?
Not mine, a relative's of mine.
All right. I'll follow up with him on that. Get back to you. All right, any other discussion on either of those warrants? The total payroll 9P was $11,238, which is about normal. And warrant 9 was $113,700, and again, $88,000 of that was ARPA funds to finish off payments for the parking lot and bridge, which is now done. No more discussion, so all those in favor of approving warrants 9 and 9P say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That's all 5. All those against? All right, we have a Conservation Commission warrant, it's CC5. It's for $72 for Google Workspace. I think it's for the webpage. And Capital Fund number 2 is a warrant for $1,000 refunding to the person who bought the tractor who apparently overpaid. And so we're gonna issue him $1,000 back.
I'll make a motion that we approve for payment warrants, Conservation Commission number 5 and Capital Fund number 2.
I'll second. Any discussion on those? All right, all those in favor of approving Conservation Commission warrant 5 and Capital Fund warrant 2, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those against? All right. ARPA funding? Nothing.
Other than the warrants
Other than
including
the
payment.
warrant. Yep.
Could I ask a question?
Yes.
I noticed that there was like $4,000 left over or something. Is that something that organizations can apply for, or has it already been pigeonholed?
ARPA funds.
ARPA, I believe the 4,000 we still need to allocate by the end of the year.
Yes, we do.
So we have until the end of the calendar year to allocate. We don't have to spend it. So any organizations that are looking for money that fall into the ARPA purview can apply for it.
Could it still apply?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just curious, not that any organization I belong to plans on doing anything, but I just wondered if it could be applied for. Thank you.
Yeah, and actually we should have Laurie send out an email
To everybody.
to the town. See if there's anybody out there that has a need. Do we have the guidelines for what can and can't be used for? Or is it pretty wide open?
Yeah, they're quite lengthy.
Okay.
The guidelines are like, 75, 80 pages long.
Right, so send that out to them because that'll put them off.
No, because we already read them once.
Exactly.
It's pretty broad though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
There's
pretty
certain
broad.
things that are not
Yeah.
allowed, but.
Right.
So do you want to, I'll give this back to you. I know you've got it. It's got well, we'll see what comes through and then we'll just see if it's approved. We'll figure out if it's a ballot or not.
Yeah.
We won't make them do it. All right. I'll ask Laurie to do that. All right. Visitors' public comment. So anyone here not for the library discussion, that wants to bring something up before we
It's on
can?
the agenda, so.
Okay.
My comment is regarding an item on budgeting, but it's not to do with a specific budget, but it's a part of the procedure.
Mhm.
And by the way, I want to thank you for posting the budget worksheets on the website. It makes it much nicer and easier for people to get to know what's going on. I was wondering, last year it was mentioned that, well, I guess I mentioned it to you, about getting a contract for diesel. And I don't know if that's part of your investigating process for next year's budget. Because
We can look into it again. Lee did look to see if he could find one, and he didn't come up with any.
I don't understand, because fuel oil and diesel is the same product. One's dyed and one isn't.
Sure.
And I'm successful in getting a good contract price for my heating oil for my buildings, and I got a real good contract this year, and prices are going down. So I don't understand why the town has to be subject to ups and down prices throughout the course of the year, because as January and February come along, the price of diesel goes up.
Right.
So if you can contract for a specific price, you know what it is, you know what you spent last year, and I know what I had spent dollar-wise. When you did your budget last year, I looked at how many gallons you used and multiplied it by my price, and it would have saved you a few $1,000s. And I can't believe you can't find between well, your servicing Barrows is what services do now, isn't it? Yeah. I can't believe that they can't, Dead River can't, Sandry can't. You know, Sandry is a big producer, or not producer, but a big company. Dead River is a big company. Discount Oil of Keene is a big company. I think you could save some money, and I just don't understand why. All it takes is a few phone calls and tell them how many gallons you want to buy or prepay, and it doesn't take long to get a response.
I've always heard of, doing that, and I've done it for heating oil. I've never heard of it being done for motor fuel. But, we thought Lee looked into
With the
it.
amount you buy or use over the course of the year, I would imagine somebody would be interested in bidding on it. So,
Paul, do you want to look into that?
I'll look into it. Thank
All right.
you.
Mr. Adler will be your point man.
yeah.
And we have the numbers from last year, gallon-wise.
Good.
So you can use that as a starting point and see what they say.
You know what that is offered?
I know off the top of my head, but we'll pull it up and get it to you.
Okay, good.
Well, seeing it's the same product, I don't know. I mean,
It's pretty
basically-
similar.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so I don't understand why people won't do it.
All right, anything else other than the library folks that are here that want to bring up something that's not on the agenda? It's happy faces. All right. So, who's our library? Who's going to be the head of this whole situation? Come up to the table. Introduce yourself and your team of members. Oh, we got handouts. Good. Thank you.
So I'm not going to go in order of the handouts, but.
Well, you can go whatever order you're comfortable going. All right, it's all yours.
All right.
First off, Laurie.
I am Lyle Holiday, current chairperson of Lydia, Taft, Pratt. And this evening, we're going to do, it's not a long, short presentation, give you a little bit of background about the library, talk about our goals for the upcoming year. Then fortunately, Linda, who was our most recent trustee, has a background in statistics and finance, and so I'm gonna turn it over to her, and she'll do a little bit of discussion around our budget proposals. All right? All right. So the Lydia Taft Pratt Library is a municipally supported library. It's been supported partially through tax dollars since 1914, just to give you a little background. It's a hub that brings people together, closes opportunity gap by connecting people to services in the area. And because it's a public library, it's free and open to all. And that's one of the philosophies that we really adhere to. We feel like it's a public library, people are paying taxes to support the library, and we want our programming to be free for anyone that wants to use it. Some of the services, we have obviously an on-site collection of books, that makes sense. We also have audiobooks and ebooks. A lot of people, myself included, rarely take out a hard book anymore. It's all on my phone, so I have it with me. Large print collection. Some people need books that are a little bit larger print to be able to read easily. We also can connect with statewide interlibrary loans, so people that are doing research, additional large print collection of books, periodicals, reference services are all available throughout the state of Vermont through the library. We have free Wi-Fi access. There's a laptop and a printer in the library that are open, and people that are doing research, if they need to print, are welcome to come in and do that. But it's also free Wi-Fi throughout the community center building. And if the building's not open, the Wi-Fi is also available in the parking lot, so you can just go and sit and use that. We have free events, programming, including some book clubs. Probably the newest is the cookbook club. There's a fiction book club. There's a picture book story time where preschool kids come once a week for story time and play games and do arts and crafts, as well as summer events. Most recently, there's a group called Lydia's Friends. They are now incorporated as a 503c organization, and through them, we've been able to purchase passes for museums, parks, concerts that would be also free or reduced price for people that want to come in and use those. So that's a little background about the library. We have some pretty significant goals for the upcoming year. We're working and have been talking about it for over a year now, but working to establish an early childhood literacy program in the library. And to do that, we would need to expand our space, and to do that, we would need to rent an additional room from the Dummerston Community Center, and also create a part-time staff position, and this person would have early childhood experience. So that would be a pilot program that we've been discussing now for quite a while. We'd also be able to, with an expanded room, offer more programming for homeschoolers, strengthening the collection of nonfiction. STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and math. More books for that, and provide equitable access to all the residents of the Dummerston community with more library hours. This past year, we have tried some morning hours as well as afternoon into early evening. And one of the main things, however, if you've been in the library, and if you haven't, I would urge you to, it is packed full of books. But there's not space, even when those little kids come once a week, there's not space for a meeting, there's not space to spread out. If the kids want to do a game, they've got very, very tight space. So our goal, as I already said, would be to rent another room from the community center and be able to spread out so that we'd have meeting space, we'd have a space for kids to do their arts and crafts. We could possibly offer a space to do a homework area for students that are a little bit older. So those are what we're considering as our goals for the upcoming year. And we've done some statistics and some finances, and so I'll turn that over to Lydia.
So there's a fabulous resource in the state of Vermont which collects data about public libraries and compares them from town to town. And they have census data they have the budget and the finance data, and they compile it and they produce these reports, which is where this little bar graph came from. So basically, Dummerston has a population of 2213 people as of 2023 per that website. I don't know. In the 2000 census, it was 1,800, so I guess it's expanded somewhat since then. We only have 600 square feet of library space, which is speaking to the case that even when the trustees meet, we're like balancing laptops on our knees and sitting very close because there's just no room. Last year, we had our operating income was $22,000, which really came out to be about $9.96 per capita. So that's per person in Dummerston. The taxes collected, $9.96 were allocated for the library. We did get some grants, and the grants paid for courier services. I think that's about it, right, courier services. And we did raise some money from our appeal letter and some miscellaneous donations, as well as the efforts from Lydia's friends. With the Geranium Festival, they brought in a nice chunk of change for us. So what's been happening in the trend is that as expenses increase throughout everywhere, we've had to have rent increases because the community center, as you know, even in this building, I think last year you put together about $20,000 for the maintenance of just the town clerk's office in this building. And we're paying $5,400 in rent to the community center. So it because of the expense of operating a municipal building, that's really not covering all the costs, and they have to again increase the rent to $6,600 for the upcoming fiscal year. The rent isn't even covering the heating expense of having the library open for all these hours.
Or the cooling.
I'm sorry?
Or the cooling.
Or the cooling. And yet, as we have shouldered these rent increases, the town support has only increased by 10%, 17% last year, even though our rent was increased by 64%.
I just gotta correct you on one thing, your rent is only gonna be $6,300.
Oh, thank you.
Saved us $100 right there.
Oh, that's cost savings.
And,
That's just $300.
I'm Paul Chapman, and the 64% is from back when it was.
Yeah, 2320, I'm sorry, when you
It was-
wrap your head around these fiscal years, it gets really.
Right.
It was 200 and something.
23-24
Right.
to 24-25, which is what we're currently in right now, and now we're talking about 25-26.
That's
So it gets confusing sometimes when you're trying to calculate all that. So that's what our current situation is. And so what we're hoping, or our goals, not only expanding the programming and the children's programs in particular, we also want to help with some of our operating expenses and the increases that are, that come with that. So the proposed budget, includes the expansion, it creates the part-time staff, it includes an increase of the library hours from 16 hours to 20. We also, this year, reviewed what the library director's job description is, and we found that we were asking a lot from somebody who's only working 60 hours a week. It really wasn't enough to do each task to the fullest potential, and we're hoping that by increasing the hours, not only are we providing the extra service to the Dummerston community for expanded hours for them to come and use the library, but we're also giving the library director a little bit more time to do the things that she actually needs to do. So our budget also includes a 3% cost of living wage increase for the librarian. And of all the taxes collected with our proposed budget, we went from $9.96 to $16.52 per capita to pay for the library expenses. Any questions? No.
Nobody has any questions.
I do. the raise of 3%. The COLA this year is only 2.5, and that's what we're giving all the other town employees. So I would propose that that should be reduced to 2.5.
Okay.
So your expenses don't include the part-time staff position, or do they? I don't see them on here. We have the librarians on here.
We have the library substitutes in there. No, it doesn't include that as of yet. We're hoping that by some of the efforts with the fundraising, we can try to fund that. But I understand that we probably did that backwards because that would be a part-time employee of the township of Dummerston. So we probably should have included that.
What is library substitutes?
That
Well,
is,
I'm sorry, this year was the first year that Dina took a vacation, and we were able to leave the library open while she was gone. And we need, of course, to pay them because they're in there working.
Right.
I don't know if it constitutes a question, I just wanted to say a few words about the Friends, since we're new this year. As Lyle and Linda pointed out, we are now an official 501c3. But the space issues have actually negatively affected our ability to fundraise. We had the usual book sale with the Geranium Fest this year, but because there was apparently no room to store the donations, so they couldn't be dropped off at the library as in years past. Apparently, I'm new. By the way, I'm Julie Johnson McGrath. My husband Ed McGrath and I bought the Stones place at the corner of Miller and East West, and we've been coming to Dummerston for 30 years, and we're so happy to be residents. It's really, really great. And the only disappointment about Dummerston has just been the library, because golly, we need more room. So it's hard to move around in there. So and I've been visiting a lot of the other little local towns and talking to their friends of the library as the friends get underway to figure out what's going on. But at any rate, obviously we would have been able to make what we usually made at the book sale, which John Pinckney told me they used to clear about 1,000 if we had been able to accept more books. So, it's just one of those, what do they call it, an Uberos? It's the snake eating its own tail. So, but the Friends are absolutely committed to supporting the programming of the library. And, we're sort of slow getting started because all of us had to learn corporate law. But we have a lot of things planned.
Thank you.
And we look forward to working with the board.
Jody?
I just have a couple of questions, and because I don't generally use this library because I'm able to use the one down in Brattleboro.
Right.
And so.
Which is part of the problem.
So anyway, I'm just wondering how many families use this library?
You can keep.
And I'm wondering if you allow people from out of Dummerston to use the library without charge.
We do. Yes. We don't charge them. But, again, I mean, if there was a little more room to accommodate people, I think there would be more use of the library. It gets a little difficult if you've got more than three people in there. Most of the room is, dedicated to the kids, and I think it's great. The more kids we get used to going to libraries and loving libraries, the better. But
I don't disagree. I just want to know, and why don't you charge people from out of town? I mean, if we don't pay for it, but we do pay for it as town residents. Why don't you charge that? Because everybody else around here has their own library too.
Well, that's something we'll have to do.
I'm not sure if that's accurate. Wouldn't they need to be Dummerston residents to get a library card? I'm not sure if someone.
I don't think we've ever asked, we get their address, but it's been that way ever since I've been volunteering there.
We don't.
If you go to Putney, they charge you for, you have to get a library card in Putney, you have to get a library card in Brattleboro.
Yeah, and Putney charges, I think, 75.
And probably New Thing too, I mean, you know.
And, I just joined Brattleboro too, and I forget.
It's like 50 or 60.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I did the 3-year plan. So, yeah.
So last year we did ask on the increase in hours, and for the librarian, if you guys had data on how many people use the library every day, during what hours. Do you have that? I mean, has there been an increase?
It's issued in the library report, and I don't have it with me unfortunately, but I don't really think that's, I mean, I kind of get what you're saying, that her presence there, she has to be there for people coming in, but we're also talking about expanding programming.
Great.
So, but based on the last librarian report, I think it was about 200 visitors came into the library last month.
Okay. Paul?
Curious about your expanding plans. You talked about doing a children's program, and I'm wondering, are we duplicating a service that's already available by the school?
No, not
No.
necessarily, and for a lot of different reasons. We have homeschoolers who don't go to the public school. We are available, we have hours on Saturday, the library is closed, I mean, the school library. School library is also only open between school hours. And I believe she's not there full-time either, right?
No,
No.
no, I think it was 3 days a week.
Yeah, so it's more like a complement or a supplement to the school library, not in place of, or we're not duplicating
Don't
efforts.
homeschoolers have access to the school library? You would think they would.
I think they do.
Hmm?
I think so.
I would think they would.
Yeah, maybe an issue about materials available,
Mhm.
because sometimes the homeschooling curriculum is very different.
Mhm.
This also would target a lot of the preschool kids,
Mhm.
which we now have had that program running. I'm not sure how many months now we've been doing the preschool. And it's been increasing the number of preschool kids that come for story time.
And if you haven't seen the video from the stuffy sleepover, oh my God. So cute.
I heard about that today.
That was such a wonderful idea, and, and it was really embraced. So,
So I have another question about the expansion. Have you been working with the community center board?
Yes. Linda and I have met with Paul and Randy a few times. You may remember in the past there were some tensions. We've been trying to work through that and meet with them on a little more regular basis so that we're talking politely and working together.
I don't know, since I've been here, it's been great.
I just want to add, we have nothing worked out for the new
We
space.
do not have anything worked out yet.
So that
Yes.
front room hasn't been rented yet?
It is still out for rent and to the public. It is still available to the library if they want to negotiate, but like the $6,000 figure here is nothing that we've agreed to. It's just, it makes it clear that there's nothing in stone. And I came here to find out exactly what they're doing with this space, and that's what we've been curious about. Because we gotta worry about the impact of the building on what the room will be used for. And I understand that the library's free, but it's not always free to the community center when you host events and there's maintenance, cleaning, janitorial. So, but we're open to negotiations.
Jody?
He just mentioned $6,000. Is that a week, a month, a year?
That was a year,
That's a year, okay.
But that's not
but it's not a firm number, we're still
Okay, I just wondered
negotiating.
because it wasn't
Right.
stated as to what it was for, so.
Yeah, so the problem with, doing the budget this early is that we haven't been able to fully flesh out everything when we prepared the budget.
Right.
although a lot of it would be, since we want to expand the children's programming, would pretty much be designating with 2 rooms. 1 room could be just the kids' room. So the
Yeah.
kids would have more space So, but, you know, they'd be doing
Kids
what they're
would also
already
cause
doing.
more impact on the building. That's what our concerns are.
Okay. Are there existing concerns?
Yes.
Okay.
So this rental figure could change that.
Yes, it could.
We know the 6,600 for the main room is
It's not correct.
It's supposed to be
It's
60.
It's supposed to be
63, right. But the other 6,000 is not.
It's
That's just a-
Still
not
in
even-
limbo.
Yep. Okay.
And this does not include the part-time staff. If you got the other room, it doesn't include that either.
Correct,
Yeah.
correct. Which, if we weren't able to hire part-time staff, the librarian would move into the children's room because we cannot leave kids by themselves. We assume we can leave adults by themselves back in the current room. So she would be in there overseeing the children's room. And the adult area would be unsupervised.
It would be recruiting volunteers.
Is there
again.
any, is there any time the library's open with just volunteers?
So being part of the Catamount program, they don't like the use of volunteers, and I think we had spoke about this before, mostly because of privacy issues. Librarians are trained and they have a discipline when it comes to checking out books and maintaining people's privacy. Volunteers don't have the same, although we can ask them to, they're not held to the same standard, well, not standard, but discipline.
I mean, last year you talked about joining the Catamount system, but you hadn't. Are you saying you have
We
now?
have no.
And so are there volunteers there during open hours when the librarian's there? Or are there just no volunteers anymore because of Catamount?
I volunteer
Okay.
quite often, you know, just to go down and help because do other people's staff books and do
No,
the post office run and do the little free library right outside
But
the door.
I guess what I'm asking, is the library open when the librarian is not there?
no.
No,
Okay, so there's nothing beyond her hours.
And then if all the stars aligned and you had the other room, just like daycares, you have to have so many adults per so many
I
children.
know that, yeah.
That would have to be the case as well. So again, these numbers would increase.
Possibly, although for that, we'd have one certified adult, but we could use volunteers with other children
Right.
if there
We
were.
On
do
the
have-
children's side only.
Yeah, we do
Because you
have
can't
an
have it.
unattended minors policy though, that we just adopted this year. So, you know, children can't be just dropped off and left.
Right.
Right, so their parent needs to
parents
be,
should be
or
there.
guardian needs to be there.
So would those volunteers have to be vetted?
Mm-hmm. I would think so.
So they have to go through the vetting
See our
process.
discussion coming up later.
And fingerprinted, I presume.
Yeah.
Right.
Because you're working with.
Okay, I've been Corey checked in numerous volunteer positions dealing with children. I've never had to be fingerprinted. So,
Well, there's discussion going on with the rec board right now about the exact same issue. So
okay.
it'll be something to consider. Can you, in the library and salary and expenses or benefits, can you break that number out, that 23,000 into what is salary and what is benefits?
I
I mean-
can't, I always count on the treasurer.
Oh.
No, and
So
I
you can point at her.
can't, I've never seen a pay stub, so I can't.
Yeah.
If I had seen a pay stub and I saw the breakout, then I would be able to do that.
Right. It's just a little weird. It's a 39% increase.
And it's because of the additional hours, it's the 4 hours. So I
Right.
need to do a breakout for you,
If you
showing
could, that'd
you
be
the
good.
hours plus the salary.
4
But
additional hours.
I'm only talking about gross salary because I've never seen a pay stub, so I don't know the tax and such breakout.
Usually Charlotte and I assume Chris would break that out for us. In the past, if we had asked, Charlotte would do it for us, and we'll just ask Chris to do that.
Okay.
And then the furniture and equipment line is a 360% increase. But is that if you were to
we
get
rent.
another room?
That's correct. Because you'd have to furnish it at some point.
Right.
People can clean out their bedrooms, furniture,
They're donated.
table that you don't have to kneel on because you can't get your
Any other questions from anyone?
Yes, I do. Can you just go back over the rental? I know you just did it, but just for clarification. It's going from 5,400 to 12,600.
Possibly. It's
Possibly.
going to
Is that-
63 for our current space.
Mhm.
63.
Okay,
6,300 for our current space, and then we would be negotiating with the Dummerston Community Center Board
right.
if we're able to move, expand.
Okay, so that has yet to be negotiated, got it.
So Dina pointed out, she's on Zoom, she said we wouldn't be leaving kids by themselves because the kids would be there with their caretakers, new policy. Plenty of libraries have one director and one children's staff, and they function just fine. Thank you, Dina. Also, Susan, you joined the meeting. What's your last name for the meeting minutes? Anybody know who Susan might be?
Hi, yeah, this is Susan Dagler. I'm interested in the discussion on speeding on the roadways.
Okay, thanks. Any other questions or comments that people have on the library?
Well, I'm thrilled that we've got a new committee that's helping out with fundraising and general community support. So that's really great.
Thank you.
All right.
Will the details of this be worked out before this actually goes to the town meeting?
Absolutely. I
So we'll
have
see
to go
you
back
again.
home tomorrow and start doing all the things that we just spoke about. So just to recap what we spoke about and make sure I didn't forget anything, I have to correct the rent of the main room from 66 to 63. The COA is now going to be 2.5 instead of 3. I have to break out the salary from salary, hours, COA, and benefits so that you could see each piece of it, and I'll need help with that particular piece. All right. And then we're still in the process of negotiating with the community center regarding the rental of the additional room. And so we're hoping that we can have that somewhat wrapped up. But of course, they want to keep all their options open as much as possible. So we're kind of getting boxed in there, but we'll figure that out. We'll negotiate, we'll figure all that stuff out. And also you raised the point, which was interesting, about non-residents' use of the library and getting them to pay a fee. So, perhaps I don't think I can work that into a budget, but we can certainly talk about the policy of that agenda adjustment.
I mean, I know certainly for Brattleboro, you can use the library all you want. You just can't check anything out. So nobody's checking IDs at the Brattleboro Library. I mean, I have to pay money to check the book out, but that's the library card side. So I'm not sure, somebody walking in the library, I need to ID them for them to use the library or read a book while they're there. But that's just how I know Brattleboro works. I don't know with the rest of them.
Yeah, I don't think that would be the case at any library, public library. For use of any of the computers, the Wi-Fi, any of that, that non-tangible stuff. But to actually take materials out, I think they probably would charge a fee for that. So that's something that we have to look into, policy.
At the present, I only know of one person who does not live in Dummerston, who did live in Dummerston and moved to Guilford, and she prefers our library to the one that's there, and that's the only Dummerstonian, is that the word for it, that I know of that uses the library.
When we first moved here, the DMV insisted that my zip code was Brattleboro. I'm sure everybody here knows this.
Yes.
I couldn't convince her otherwise. I wasn't going to come back again, so I'm like, you can put whatever you want on there. So she put Brattleboro, so I got to use the Brattleboro Library for free. And the person in the library, she's like, Middle Road's not in Brattleboro. I'm like, ID, I don't have to tell you.
Hello, can
Yes.
I respond? There are quite a number of people who are not Brattleboro residents not Dummerston residents who use Lydia Taft Pratt Library for various different reasons. And there are quite a number of people who use our library and also use some of the other libraries. People make their own choices about whether or not they want to pay to use Brattleboro or pay to use any of the other libraries. And there are several people who use more than one library. So that was one thing I wanted to say. But the other thing I wanted to say is that, I understand you asking for all the breakdowns in our spending. I think that's totally reasonable. And if you're asking the town of Dummerston to vote on this budget, then they need to know exactly what they are voting on. I wonder if it would be helpful to submit maybe a list of expenses and a similar kind of breakdown for the community center, and then we could all understand what this $12,000 would be going towards.
We can consider that. I don't. The community they don't ask for a budget, do they?
No.
Yeah, I mean the community center kind of runs on its own. So yeah, I mean we take that into consideration. I'm not sure what would happen moving forward, but it's good input.
We'd like to
I mean,
support.
I think it's relevant, though. I think it's relevant because we are in a position of asking for money from the town of Dummerston, and then that money is going directly to the community center. And we are the town of Dummerston Library, and the community center is a building that's owned by the town of Dummerston. So I think this is extremely relevant.
Does somebody have a deeper history than I do on this, on how the community center is run and the processes and things like that? I mean, I know just enough to be dangerous.
Well, I'd have to ask the board on it. I have no problem with showing you all our expenses. You know,
Yeah, and I'm not sure that we're asking for them. I'm just, I mean, my understanding is that we own the building, you all run it, but you don't ask for any money from us. You run it independently of like cribbage fees and events
and that's what we run.
and rent, and that's what you run on, right? So we're not giving you any money. I do know that the money for the library transitions to you guys, but we're really not a part of that. Same thing with,
We're just a pass-through
you're just
for
a
the
pass-through
town,
for the town.
basically. So
And
you
it's the
are
same
getting
thing
money
with the
back.
library budget, right? Whatever amount we give you all, you're gonna disperse it however you want within your realm.
Usually you've said this is for rent, this is for
Sure.
salary. It's not we use it for whatever we want. It's been earmarked for
Sure.
specific things that actually, for the most part, other than salary, goes to the community center.
And there are limits as to what the Friends can support too. I
Exactly.
don't believe that we are allowed to support salary
Sure.
or rent, but we have supported programs. For example, we paid for the free museum. They're free to whoever chooses to use them, but the Friends money paid for the passes.
Which, by the way, passes are great.
Yay.
Okay, just to clarify one thing with the community center. For years, we've subsidized the library with our fundraising. Which I mean, we're having to break out of that pattern because of the amount of volunteers we have compared to the amount of fundraising that we can do. And in the past, all our cleaning's been free. Now we've hired, a cleaning person.
Yeah.
So our expenses have gone way up.
Yeah.
And that's, we'd like to do fundraisings to put money into the building.
Yeah.
Rather than subsidize rent.
Well, I mean, as was noted at last year's town meeting, and now, I mean, just in the time I've been here, the amount of ARPA money that the town had that fixed a lot of things that would never have been fixed.
Correct.
Without that money, we've got a little, like, oh, we can just fix this, we can fix that. I mean, that money's gone. So it was a nice 3 or 4 year run, aside from the pandemic side of it.
Yeah.
A lot of money and a lot of capital expenses that we benefited from.
Right.
And a lot of stuff for you guys, which need to be done.
Oh,
So.
right. And we never would have been able to afford to do that stuff.
Yeah.
And now with the MERPS money we're looking at, is that we're gonna be going, if we get any, be going right back into the building. None of us would be sticking to us.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't, none of us get paid.
All right, well, thank you all for coming. If there's any other questions, we appreciate it. And we'll probably talk to you again.
Right.
And we've got the holidays coming
We'll
up.
redo the numbers and resubmit
Okay,
that.
that'd be great, thanks.
Thank you. No, you can take it. You've got so many of those. I don't know.
Thank you.
How is your husband doing?
Of the town? Yeah, they get X amount of time.
It is
Not
what it
part-time.
is.
Just the 5, 6 employees?
Take good care of
Laurie.
yourself.
Nobody else is over.
That's what everybody told me.
It's just been number 2,000. Somebody that works
That's a whole different.
832 hours.
It's not part-time, that was for people to man the library while the librarian was gone. So
Okay.
none of those three were paid more than $600 each. So, all right, road foreman's report. I haven't really talked to Lee. I know Park Lot Road is done. I haven't driven it yet. Anyone? New bridge? Maybe afterwards we'll all.
Have a parade?
Yeah. Okay. All right, correspondence for information. Is there anything? I'll go to the next page. Yep. Anything of those 6 items that has any questions or responses? All right, let's move on to discussion and actions. There's nothing in that list. So new business. So Salmon Brook Erosion. I got in touch with the state today. They are finishing. They've come up with a plan that they're doing the design instead of us having to find someone to do the design for that. It's for the house on, I can't remember what it was.
Jim Boyd.
Jim Boyd Road, to reinforce that bank. So there's funding to do it, and homeowner doesn't have to pay anything. The problem we ran into is you have to have a request for proposal for the design, so an engineer has to do a design, and then once you have that, then you have to do a request for proposal for the work. We put out 2 RFPs for engineering and got no response, so we're stuck. So the state has come up with a plan, I think with the Army Corps of Engineers or someone else, they're going to do the design part of it. So once that's done, I think all we will do is put out an RFP for the work to be done, and I imagine local folks will bid on that, and then we can get that taken care of.
Is that same kind of thing occurring at Barrow's house in the hollow?
Schoolhouse Road.
Schoolhouse Road, yeah.
So they looked at those sites originally and they were eligible, but the homeowners in that area did not respond because at the time it was 25%.
Yeah.
Homeowner had to, so basically they have an estimate of whatever it was $200,000 or $300,000 to do the work.
2 or 3 what?
$200,000 or $300,000 to do the work.
100,000?
Yeah. And the homeowners are on the hook for 25% of that.
Yeah.
That did change after the fact where the government came up with more money to eat up that 25%. My understanding from the folks at who runs this organization, USDA, who runs the grants, is that you can't come back in after you haven't followed through the first time. So, and there was also a little bit of an issue on how far they could go. Right, they can't go to the part that's owned by the town, where all those tires are near the bridge. So right now there were 3 sites they looked at, 2 there because there's 2 homes. That would all, and the thing is that work would have to be one job with 2 homeowners having to figure it out. So
we're just gonna let it run into the brook?
Well, hopefully that won't happen.
You saw what happened.
Yeah, because the back end of that doesn't look very secure right now.
And they did also look at whoever lives down along the brook past Salmon Brook on, I guess what I call the north side. There's a gentleman who lives back there.
Oh.
Really low to the water.
Really, he's on the water, basically.
It's bolster.
Bolster, I was gonna say it's a bolster, yeah.
Holiday meeting schedule. So I snuck this on me.
You saw it when I sent it to you.
I did see
Well, no, it was actually Chris, the treasurer.
Right.
Asked me how that's going to work because.
So Wednesday the 27th is obviously the day before Christmas or Thanksgiving.
So, I think we should still meet that particular, and then.
Yeah, if there's 3 of us here, there's 3 of us here. Who's anybody traveling Thanksgiving that we know of? Tom, are you gonna be around?
I'm gonna be around.
I'll be around. I'm just down the street.
Yeah.
So let's keep that one.
Yes, I will be around.
Okay.
So we can keep that one.
Let's keep that one.
Yes.
And you guys all want to come over Christmas night? Bring leftovers on the 25th?
Sure.
That's a negative.
Negative? What about the budget workshop on the 1st? You don't want to be here for that either? So what do you guys do when this happens? Do you move it earlier in the week or?
I would say let's move it to Tuesday, the 24th, if people are gonna be around for, even though that's, we can make.
Tuesday, the 24th of December, sorry?
Yes.
There's a chance I won't be, but I could probably at least be by Zoom.
I could probably be by Zoom. I'll be in California.
Let's make it the 24th and we'll see.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll move the
Heck of a time to have a meeting.
25th.
You can sing carols.
To the 24th. All right.
We could, the only other thing we could do, if nobody could make it, we could designate at the meeting previous to it for somebody to go ahead and, pay the warrants.
Yeah,
And
I'm
pay
not planning on going
Yeah.
anywhere, so.
So we
That's
could
a
do
good
that
idea.
the day before,
Good idea.
2 weeks prior
Yep, all
at
right.
a meeting. We could assign somebody to do that, which is usually the chair.
Yeah.
Usually the person was
But
closest.
do we trust them enough to do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
But then we
I've
have
done it
to,
already.
and then we would just ratify it at the next
Yep.
meeting.
Right.
Yep.
So,
Pay warrants, yeah, and so we'll know on that, the meeting beforehand.
yeah, okay.
All right, Miller Fund. Jody's here, just you.
Well,
I said
no,
it.
Jean's here
Jean's here.
for it too, and
Oh, and then there's Deb left, I thought you left.
no, Deb came back.
All right, so this is a follow-up to, it's probably a month ago that we originally started this.
Well, when we sent letters and Jean and I came to the meeting.
Right.
And then I sent you, well, we got the schools,
Input,
the input.
Yep.
Which, you saw from my letter, they've completely not talked about any, needy child who's not part of the school.
right,
And so that's why I kind of combined a couple of things and wrote it together, and I'm not married to it, as I said.
sure.
There's just ideas, and I've gone back and looked at, I've gone back, way back in the Miller Fund, way back even before they, put the money in the Vanguard. Thank goodness at least one of the select board members was nice to convince the rest of the board that they had to put the money somewhere rather than in the bank that gets nothing.
Right.
And as you see in your town report, you get two line items of numbers, and one is just the bank number and one is the Vanguard. But over the years, it has gone up and down so much. One time, the Miller Fund had 200 and, I know where I put it. It did get up to 117,990. As far as my figures show and from the town reports and everything, and that was in 2005. And now looking at the last town report, and which I know we have more, it's only $129. So when you get to that figure that we originally had at $500, which I realize might be too low for some things, and you get the figure that was asked for from the school from $2,500. I just put $1,500 with all kinds of question marks around it because I have no idea. But then after I sent you this letter, I had an idea that you could have a request, really, if somebody needs some apparatus or something. It could be expensive. And I think being careful of what you spend mainly for items like camps and things like that. You don't eat up the whole interest, the whole $5,000. But if something came up that was really desperate and there was absolutely no other way of paying for it, you could probably go down and eat up the interest down to back to 100,000. But if you did that, then the next year you'd be lucky if things were good in Wall Street, you'd be lucky if you got $2,000 a year interest. So I think those are the things you need to take into consideration. And I've got figures here way back into I don't know where they go, but I did it another time, I think, before you guys got into this. I think I did it another time. But I went back and, well into 1999, I think, for figures. So thank God at least they're putting some of it in the Vanguard funds.
Yep.
So you do have some money to spend.
So what do we get in interest a year?
I don't know. I talked to Chris today and he said, well, I can research that. And I said, well, the meeting's tonight and I don't want you to go way beyond to research it because.
Yeah, I've looked at there's handwritten logs every month in the vault.
They're handwritten what?
Logs. That have all the
logs,
interest.
okay.
It shows all of that, and we'll look at that to see what the number is.
Yeah, because that'd be interesting to see.
And this,
just what the interest is.
This is almost 2,500.
Yeah.
Just this year. So,
Yeah.
so that would be all we could spend.
Exactly. That's what.
So
Yeah. So that would be our limit of spending.
Exactly.
Is what we get on the interest.
Right.
But even looking since they've started putting it into the Vanguard, sometimes it's 2,400, sometimes it's 115, sometimes it's 44, sometimes, I mean, it's just the way things go
Yeah.
from year to year.
Right. But I don't think we should run into the principal at all. We just keep, interest is our max.
Yeah, well, the original principal was $25,000, something like that.
Yeah, I was thinking it was 20,000.
Was it 20? Okay.
I can't remember.
But-
20, just shy of 20.
What year was
Okay,
it?
1931.
Yeah.
I can remember.
But then if you try to say what's $20,000 in 1931
I'll tell you
in
just
today's
exactly.
dollars, then he's.
$25,000.
Well, I think it was very smart.
It was 20.
Let me do the math. Hang on, that's a dumb one. Sorry.
I think it was very smart of the select board back then to let it grow to something that would get some interest in it.
Well, he had been a trust officer.
Yeah.
So adjusted for inflation, $25,000 in 1931 would be $475,000
Yeah.
at 3.22%.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
right.
but we're not getting 3.22% on it. It's not a problem.
So I think it does good things for kids that really need something. And there's so many other services that can add on and help if a kid really needs something badly, like Dummerston Cares is part of one of them in Dummerston, but there's other things that are bigger than Dummerston. But it makes a big difference if a kid can't go to a Green Mountain camp because there's no money to go to Green Mountain
Right.
camp in the summer whenever all the friends are going somewhere, you know. And
So, of the three documents that we have, which is the current, what the school wrote up, and what you sent, the
Yeah.
first three paragraphs are all, nobody changed anything.
Nobody
So those
changed
can be
that, no.
disregarded,
no,
and we'll keep them as they are. So that's a good explanation.
and the last 2 or 3 would not
And the
change
last,
anything.
6, 7, and or 8 are pretty much
Yeah,
the same except for the value.
right.
The school did take out, and I assume the school took out the non-school resident kids, for instance, because they're like, we don't directly deal with them.
No, they don't.
And so was the intention, because you have history on this for eligibility, was the intention of those are homeschooled kids, those are kids who are older than kids that would attend the school, or was it just something we were supposed to figure out on our own?
I don't know, because, I mean, it says Dummerston needy children.
Right.
Yeah, I had flagged that as well.
Yeah.
That I thought
Yeah.
we shouldn't be limited to kids in the
No,
school.
because there's kids that are going to other schools.
Right.
There's kids
Homeschool.
that are homeschooling. There's maybe kids that aren't even
Well, just
going
even a
to
kid in the
school.
Dummerston Middle School isn't going to have a gatekeeper, or not Dummerston, at Brattleboro Middle School, because we're dealing with the Dummerston School only.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So even just those kids who are in school
Yeah.
don't have access to that.
Right.
Well,
That
the
knowledge.
current guidelines specifically say, or if the child does not attend school, or through any other objective verifiable demonstration of household financial need. So I think something like that wording needs to be back in the proposed, so that,
Yeah,
Right.
um,
Which
Yes,
in
His original intent should be in there.
exactly,
and
exactly.
Jody, you included that in your version of it.
I tried to put 2 things together, the school things and the
Right.
other kids.
Yeah.
Just to make it clearer, but it was just my ideas, and that's what hit me, is that there's gonna be a few kids that wouldn't fall under the one that came from the school. And I also sent it to Julianne, and I haven't heard from her. So,
So what is the just hypothetically, what's the town plan? How do the kids that aren't in the school, how are they gonna get access? How are we gonna know that they need it? What's their path? So let's say I have
that's a good
a
question.
middle school kid, for instance, or a homeschool kid, or whoever else it might be. How do they get access to it?
The original document. The application may be a simple letter to the select board from the child, or from their parents, legal guardian, or school officials.
Right.
So,
But they may not hear about it, is what
Right.
you're trying to say, I think.
So the school, obviously if you're in the school, they see the kids every day, they understand if there's things going wrong, things are needed. But beyond those kids, and what does it go through 8th grade? That are in 8th grade?
We go through 8th grade here, yes. And we have pre-K, so,
So yeah, anyone can fill out an application, I just don't know if people know.
yeah.
Couldn't this be something that
Go ahead, Tom.
aside from just doing it through the school, which is going to get us most of the kids probably, isn't this something we could just advertise either on the Dummerston website or even in paper at town office and just
Or it could just be in the
We're
views.
a small town, we can, by word of mouth, we can let people know aside from that. But if it doesn't have to all go through the school, that would open it up. Say someone could petition the select board directly.
I mean, I think if you knew of somebody who was your neighbor, who the kids were always around home or preschool or whatever, you could tell somebody that, but and pass it around word of mouth. But the views might not be a bad idea. I don't know.
Okay, I'll tell you what, Jody, because what I'm going to do, I'm going to volunteer Jody to do a little 5-minute spiel at town meeting.
Well, one of the
Don't try to back out of it yet.
no, I just had a thought, and I hope this is legal because of having to merge.
It hasn't been.
Don't look at me.
Don't drag me into your
keep on talking. Keep on talking. You can.
I don't know. And I don't want everybody and their brother just jumping on it, and so you have to have, and it says in everybody's form, it says there has to be some documentation or some whatever of the need of this child. Back in those days, we knew everybody. We don't now.
Right. Well, that's what kind of started this was, I've been here for a year and a half on the board.
Yeah.
I've never seen any request ever.
I think the last time was like 2023, maybe.
Right.
Well, I came with the school nurse 2 years or 3 years ago because she was looking for one more child for Green Mountain.
Yes.
Camp. Yes. And she said, "Do you suppose we could get it?" And I said, 4.
Way back in the day, it was designed for, excuse me, was designed for people who might have medical issues. Kids needed glasses or needed dental work, or there were no it was just the overseers of the poor. There weren't all the resources that are out there today. So that's why you might not have as many applications, but so you can change your might have been just for medical issues back then, but you can, because times have changed, issues have changed, the needs have changed, and so you evolve with them.
Yeah. And what we learned when the school was here and whoever else was here is that the original gate of the free reduced school lunch program, that doesn't exist anymore.
It doesn't exist anymore.
And so having that, I'm like, okay, well, we need to change that, which is why I brought the school. It's like, what is going to be the checkpoints along the way for this?
Right.
Yeah.
And my hope was kind of what we're talking about here, which is at the school specifically, the principal, the nurse, the staff there, they're doing the work of, they know the kids. Right. And then they bring the application to us and then we review it. So whatever process that they want to use is the same thing as reduced free lunch. I'm just asking them to do it.
Yeah.
And that's the hope. So the other differences, Jody, in yours, you had the grade of the child and the exact amount. That's included in other ones. It just is blended together. And probably the value of, but as you say, it should have, I don't know, you guys think, should have set value, but could be extenuating circumstances.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So the select board can at times go over whatever that value is going to be. Yeah. And I don't know what that number is.
Or they can make it less.
Or they can make it less, right. So I think what we can try and do is I can combine all 3 of these into one, and we'll readdress this in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I think that's basically what I did, but you can go and reword everything. It's fine.
Right, and then I'll look at the book on the interest. Because basically I assume that what we want to do is whatever the interest was in 2023, that's what's available in 24.
Yeah.
So you're always a year after.
It's the previous year.
The previous year's number is what we use as the benchmark for what's available.
Right. And then when you say interest, you probably refer to interest plus whatever the growth was through the Vanguard or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. So whatever the earnings were
Yeah.
on the fund.
And it says like donations, well, I don't know if anybody's ever donated to the fund before either. Jean,
No, never.
do you have any other comments on any of this?
On this?
Well, yeah, I have another comment that I'm not sure if we discussed.
Go ahead, Tom, go real quick.
Yeah, so the way the setup is now through the school, anonymity is taken into consideration. If people are going to directly ask the select board, they might be hesitant to, if it's, them as a person, they might feel embarrassed or something like that. It would be nice to maybe have a way to there be a third party in between, or some way that people can keep anonymity. I don't know how. That just occurred to me. I said some people might, feel embarrassed.
Yeah, I think the original thing is, writing a letter. I don't want any of that.
No. Having the kid write the letter. No.
Yeah, come stand before us. Yeah, I think it says grade of the child. I don't really even need to know the grade. What are the funds? How much? And what are they used for? That's pretty much all I need to know.
Is there a role that Dummerston Cares might play in vetting applicants?
Who aren't school? It's possible. That fits into that. We'll have to come up with a method as best we can to get people who fall through the cracks who aren't in the school.
So then I would say that on number 5, we should include the original language that the select board shall accept applications for grants from the Miller Fund at any time, not just the school. That
That's
way,
right.
so I think that wording has to be in here, because the new version makes it sound like you have to go to the team at the school.
Right, we need to make clear that it's not just the school.
Not just the school.
Okay, that's good.
Because it could be somebody from the church, it could be somebody
Right.
from,
Yeah, the church might, people.
Yeah.
Dummerston Cares.
That may be one of the things too. Also, is make sure that Dummerston Cares, the school, the church, all the other organizations in town have a copy of this, so they can.
Yeah, I do some of the wood pantry.
Right.
And, some of the places we deliver, I'm sure, are very needy.
Yeah.
Right.
Jean had a question.
Oh yes, Jean. I'm sorry.
Sorry. The one thing that I did think was good was that the people, the knowledgeable people in the school could make a recommendation, but not be part of what you are going to put forth.
That's right. All they are is they just bring it to us.
Yeah, they just bring it to
the
our
board
attention.
decides.
Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't. There was never an intent for them to have control of the fund.
Yes, but was not explained originally. I didn't think that it was something that should go through the school. Exactly.
I agree with you totally. Yep. Anything else on the Miller Fund?
Yes. I'm an officer of Dummerston Cares, and we are not in a position to be able to vet any applicants for this fund.
Susan.
That's not something we can do. We use a third party to vet people for some of our programs, and we don't take confidential information from people that would be necessary to determine their eligibility for the Miller Fund.
All right. Thank you.
You might ask who they use or what kind of person they use.
Yeah. Who is the third party agency you use?
We use SEPTA and we use the school.
All right. Thanks.
Can I ask,
Yes.
on the original form, number 5, where it says application, that the simple letter to the select board from child, parents, legal guardian, school officials, why not also say community member and broaden it out? It might be a neighbor who's aware of a situation and not one of these entities.
I want to take child out. Can I take child out?
Yes.
Community member. I'll replace child with community member.
I'm sorry?
I'll replace child with community member.
Well, that sounds lovely to me. Yes.
Any community member.
Right.
All right.
It's supposed to be.
Thank you for listening anyway, and
I get paid the big money to listen to you.
I know you do.
I get paid. I actually get paid because I listen to your husband.
You're on salary, right?
Yeah. We get overtime if we go over 7:30.
I think all of us here get the same kind of money from what we've been doing over the years.
All right. Anything else on that? Just real quick before we close that. All right.
Do we want to talk about the dollar amount?
Do you even need a dollar amount?
I think if we outline, that's a good point. I think if we outline that there's a set amount of money for the year that's eligible, then we're gonna fit in under that. I don't know, because if you're gonna put in $1,000 or at the discretion of the select board, you might as well not have $1,000 in there at all. So maybe I'll just put in at the discretion of the select board.
That would be a good idea.
That's what I would say.
Good question, thank you. I already authorized Laurie to complete the PACIF renewal forms,
Yes,
so that's done.
that is done.
It is done. Yeah, I just said go ahead and do it.
Okay, okay.
Do we need to vote on that though?
That was her question, was should it?
Okay, I'll tell you what. I make a motion that we authorize Laurie to complete the PACIF renewal forms.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? I'm just bullying everybody. All those in favor of authorizing Laurie to complete the PACIF renewal form, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, Tom. Anybody against? All right, rec board volunteer fingerprinting. I don't think they're here unless you're here to represent them. I don't think you are.
If you're looking at me, no, I'm not.
Well, I'm looking at you.
Okay.
So we'll carry that. I know they're working on it. So we'll wait for them to come back with us with their ideas. Sheriff's recommendations regarding speeding.
Okay. Surprise, surprise, Mark has not gotten back to me as of yet.
He's a busy
I
man.
will continue to hound him.
All right.
And may I ask that you, when you talk to them, also include the dirt roads? I was in Brattleboro today and was surprised that the paved road through town was 25 miles an hour.
And the dirt roads at 35.
Yeah.
It makes absolutely no
Who sets the
sense.
speed limit?
35 unless, it's the lowest you can, 35 is the lowest you can do it without doing an engineering study.
I've
On a
never
dirt
seen
road?
anybody do 35 on my road.
No.
I've never seen anybody do 35.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, one person, yes.
Yeah, you gotta be flying to do 35 on some of these dirt roads.
Yeah.
Are you saying they go faster than 35?
Oh, much
Yes.
faster.
Oh, really?
Yes, that's what he's saying.
Well, on most of the dirt roads I drive on, you should be going about 20 to 25, and even 25.
And that's something that I think maybe, we need to look at in the future. Dirt roads should be 25.
I don't know what
Instead of 30.
Brattleboro did, but when you cross the town line in Brattleboro, they say 25 miles an hour.
We think they just did it.
Like on Kipling Road?
Yeah, when you go into Brattleboro and Kipling Road,
Right.
or
Black Mountain?
yeah. So
All
it's,
right.
it's interesting. I think even Upper Dummerston Road, which is paved, I'm not sure what that one is though. Not positive.
Upper Dummerston, I think it's
I think
35.
that's
Is it 35?
35.
Is it?
I would like that moved
Yeah.
to next
next
meeting.
Yeah, we'll continue.
I would like
Leave
to
it around.
continue,
Yep.
because I will get in touch with the sheriff.
I'm sure that there are people driving on Camp Arden Road that are going 40 miles an hour.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yep.
I no longer feel safe to be able to walk on the road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my problem, is there's no place to walk.
Right.
And I'm still.
I think 30 miles an hour would be fine. I think 25, asking people to go 25, I don't think we'll get much compliance. But I think if we go to 30 miles an hour on the dirt roads, I think that would be a good compromise.
Well, I would also like to, start looking into the rubber sleeping policemen that you can lay out on the road. You can, during the winter, they can be pulled up very easily, but it's going to keep people, doing the speed limit.
What is the rubber sleeping policeman?
It is just basically a rubber mat that you
It's
put
a
across
speed
the
bump.
road,
Oh,
and
speed
it's a
bump.
speed bump.
Yeah.
And they can be removed for snow removal or what have you. You just pull them across.
Well, I think at some point in the near future, when it gets really dark and dreary out, we probably should have a meeting about this, right? Because everybody's got a billion different ideas, and we're gonna have to figure out amongst the town what we want. Do you want speed cameras? Do you want more sheriffs? Do you want to change the speed limit to 30? I mean, somebody's driving 40 on a dirt road, which I would drive 40 on a dirt road. A 25-mile-an-hour sign is not going to stop them from driving 40.
That's right.
Right. So figuring out all these things and coming up with what the best option is going to take a little bit of work, I think.
The only thing that seems to slow people down is the perception of the road whether if it's nice and straight and, you know,
And wide.
and wide, you know, and smooth. So maybe keeping the potholes in the roads will slow people down, I don't know.
Well, I've been parking my tractor next
But then
to
Paul's gonna show up and say there's potholes in the road.
I've been parking my tractor on my property, but closer towards the road.
Yeah.
And it does slow people down because,
Sure.
you know, it's,
Yeah,
because you can't use my driveway. It's part of a passing zone.
Yeah.
yeah.
I just want to say that the Hollow is one of the worst places for people to speed, and there's kids all over the place and animals, and they just come flying down off that hill or flying to get up the hill, and there's all those houses around there, and I'd love to see like a little circle or something in between those three roads so that they have to slow down and go around and go somewhere else.
Now, it is 25 there.
Yeah.
It is, but they still fly.
Yeah, that's why I say you need a physical barrier
Yeah.
or a perception that the road, sometimes like Brattleboro does a lot with bump outs, you know, whether the crosswalk.
Traffic calming.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
And have we ever reviewed the state police? The state police
Yeah.
versus the sheriff's office?
They'll never come.
Yeah.
I mean, to get a state policeman to come, they cover such a large territory that it's almost impossible to get somebody to respond.
Well, because every time that I've called 911, I've usually gotten the state police and they've been there.
Yeah.
Very
For
quick.
that call, yeah.
Yeah.
But for
For
traffic.
traffic, I don't think
Yeah.
they don't generally show up for
Because we have a
traffic.
contract with.
No,
you know.
I think it is putting things in the road, like put all our tractors in the road. No, but, you know, making the roads not wider, making them not flatter and straighter and whatever. Just slowing them down. I mean, Middle Road is horrible.
Well, right out here is a classic. This would be a great place to have those mats you were talking about, because they've come flying through here, don't even stop, and go around the corner.
But maybe we can get Lee to drive, you know, a bulldozer down the road, so you've got those tracks in the road.
Yeah, right.
I don't think you're going to get Lee to do that. But
Not
anyway,
right after he paved the road.
it's been an issue for years and years and years.
Yeah, but we need to.
It's nothing new. This is going through, I don't know how many select boards have dealt with this issue. Yeah.
All right, open meeting law posting requirements for town committees and commissions. Did I do this?
Yeah, you were going to. Yeah, you were gonna get.
Keep that on the next one and I will square it away.
You were gonna get a checklist together for all, because
Yes.
like right now, I think the select board's the only one that's actually posting within the requirements.
Yeah, people don't do that.
Yeah.
I will refresh everybody.
And I think
That's all.
open meeting law is gonna have some changes as of January 1st, but we're not sure exactly what, you're shaking your head.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. I don't know what they are.
Different than the ones that came in July?
My understanding is yes.
All right.
As far as committees and things like that are
All right.
concerned.
Also on your unfinished business, did you get in touch with the fire department?
Did any of
Yes, I did email the fire department. You guys, I CC'd all you on that.
Okay.
So I sent them our list of questions and asked them to respond by Monday.
You have to raise your
And
hand.
invited them to the meeting on the 6th.
Yes, I saw that.
Okay.
And we did get a late one that came. I didn't see it. It went to my trash. I don't know why, from Laurie. Apparently, there's a bunch of campers down at Dummerston Boat Launch.
Yes, in, well, on the Putney end of town.
On the Putney end of town, but on the Dummerston launch.
Yes.
Because you have the Putney launch and then the Dummerston. Apparently, it's the Dummerston one.
Campers?
Yeah, Ron Svek said there was a bunch of people up there. So.
It's actually owned by the State of Vermont Fish and Game.
Oh, is it?
It's the
Right.
boat access.
Yeah.
So I would assume that someone should probably let Fish and Game know.
Well, that's good to know. I will.
Back by Putney Paper? What
Yes.
used to be Putney
Yeah, when you go,
Paper.
you have to go way out.
Yeah, because I've only been there a couple times. There's a launch. If you go straight to the river, there's the launch,
Yeah.
kind of a grubby one. And then if you go back south,
Yeah.
behind, there's one they call the Dummerston, but that belongs to Fish and Wildlife.
Yes, it's owned, the property's owned by,
It's in Dummerston.
it's in Dummerston, but it's owned by Fish and
Yeah,
Wildlife.
so I'll let them handle that.
Yeah.
Okay, good tip. I'm glad I brought it up.
It's nice to have some memory around here.
Does anybody know what all those 4 trailers are on
Oh,
Brock?
Route 5?
Route 5.
Berkshire Mountain Water.
Yeah.
I mean, I've noticed in the past that every so often there's one there for a day, but those ones have been there for.
Yeah, it started with 2, then it got to be 4, and they don't seem to move.
Where is this, on Route 5?
The pull off on Route 5.
Yeah, just
between the gym and Middle Road on the right hand side.
Yeah.
I would think the sheriff would. That would be a sheriff thing.
Yeah, I was going to call the highway department and I didn't, but.
I don't think either one of them would do any good.
All right, we have a budget work session next Wednesday. Let's do general fund and the fire department. The fire department first, and then general fund. So everybody knows, and then a regular meeting on the 13th at 6 o'clock. Anybody have anything else?
I just had a very interesting conversation with Greg Records. He's the president of the Association for Fundraising for the Fire Department in Newfane and Brookline. Newfane and Brookline combined have a population of 2,183, where Dummerston currently is 2,213. And I've gotten their budget.
Oh, good.
Good.
So we'll be reviewing that also.
Right. And I saw, if you read the email, I also asked the fire department, I mean, we can do the legwork for them, but I've asked them to, produce some local other town fire departments. I know they're all different, but there still is a way to kind of look at budgets and compare. I mean, I pointed out to them that with the fire truck, their numbers are 20% of the entire municipal budget. So.
Did you, on the radio at 12 o'clock, for locally, what the state's looking into now is consolidation of regionalization. And they say it's only for certain things, but we've been through this in the education, and they're going to make it worse now. And now they're working on the towns.
Right. I mean, the sheriff does that basically.
Yeah.
Rescue Inc. does that.
Right.
And so it's not something that seems, for services, I think
There are
a
certain
study or
services
consideration.
that are ideal for doing that.
Right.
But as a town, I'd want the town to work it together without being pushed down from the state.
Yeah.
And I mean, we could do that here for fire departments or things like that. But
Is that subject ever been broached with the fire department? Have they talked about working?
Our corporate knowledge might know that.
I've brought it up with the fire department. Wondering if there's opportunity to collaborate with Putney in some way, for example. I brought it up when Putney was having all those problems, and Dummerston was picking up some of the share anyway.
Yeah. But I mean, the classic answer to that would be, well, we already have mutual aid. But I mean, how about, consolidating service areas and equipment and that kind of thing?
Yeah, we're Rockingham,
right.
Towns.
I think that's going to be voted down.
Yeah, it's difficult because, when you're talking about mutual aid, not every department has the equipment that they need or the budget that they need.
Right.
And you could be called out quite a bit. And if you're a town like we are, we don't have a big department.
Yeah.
Our truck is out in Putney and there's a fire here. You got to really be careful with that.
Yeah. No, I know. So you're dealing with probabilities.
Right.
Yeah. But it seems to me that for everybody to have everything gets very expensive for everybody. You just kind of, especially since, like they were talking on the radio, and I think that kind of dovetails with what we're doing here. They said a new pumper costs about $600,000. That's a lot of money.
Yep.
For small communities, and you have more than one.
Oh, we do. All right.
And most of their capital needs over in Brookline and Newfane is covered by this president of the association.
Interesting.
They play bingo, which brings in almost 40,000.
Yeah, everybody likes
You know.
bingo.
Then they do the Heritage Festival.
Exactly.
fundraising. That's
Yes,
a big
and
thing.
they bring in phenomenal amount.
Yeah, you can't go through Newfane without paying up.
Yeah.
Boots.
All right, anyone have a motion?
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
And Al,
Who seconded it?
I do.